My name is Tom Bowerly. Thank you very much for showing up. Hey! I love you guys. I am deeply indebted to each and every one of you for 40 years of having an awful lot of fun. And thanks very much for coming out on a Saturday where you have many, many things to do. You have many, many options. But apparently the mic went dead. But you showed up here, and I am very grateful for that. We're all very grateful for that. Understanding that it is warm out there, understanding the sun is shining down, we're going to give you a lot of content, and we're going to do it in as rapid a form as possible. Before we get going, how many of you wish Andrew Cuomo was not the governor of New York State? How many of you believe and want Donald Trump to be reelected? How many of you believe in a truly equal justice for all United States of America? That's what I like to hear, because people like us are often misrepresented and mispainted for things we are not. All of us want each and every American to succeed and to take part in the American dream, which is the legacy of our ancestors. All of us want everybody to have the right to pursue happiness and to achieve happiness as they see fit. None of us, as free men and women in the United States of America, ought to have to ask the government permission to engage in our day-to-day living and commerce. That is wrong. We have, as the governor of New York State, a man who has been given Reichstag fire-like power authority over us to be a dictator of New York State until April of 2021. Who out there wants those powers stripped from Andrew Cuomo? Because we were not made, we were not destined for a dictatorship. We were destined for a constitutional republic in which we have three separate and co-equal branches of government, not one paranoid man making decisions for your life, your parents, your grandparents, your future, your business, and your destiny. Now, we have people coming up who are far more eloquent than I. But before we do that, I would appreciate, as we have an individual coming up on stage, Lenny Early, who is a Vietnam veteran who will recite for us the Pledge of Allegiance. Lenny Early, Vietnam veteran, who sacrificed his youth for the United States of America.
Okay, we're going to do this real quick, right? Isn't this guy great, man? I listen to him all the time. Okay, are we all ready? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. From the Vietnam vets here, all those guys.
If you would kindly remain standing, those of you who are able to comfortably do so. Obviously, those of you with physical liabilities, we completely understand. You're not making a statement other than, I can't, Tom, because my back is sore. We will now have, thanks to Jonathan Rogers, our sound man who has donated his talent today, the national anthem of the United States of America. One national anthem for one country and one people, America.
To honor America and perform our national anthem, please welcome home 8-time Grammy winner, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, the Empress of Soul, Gladys Knight.
seen by the dawn's early light, but so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Say does that star-spangled banner yet wave over the land of the free? And the home of
That was beautiful. Before we lose the feeling, if you will, as many of you are aware, those folks who are on the front lines of defending freedom and protecting us have been under a ridiculous amount of fire and prejudgment in America. I'm speaking of our police officers, our law enforcement agents, our firefighters, and all other first responders. If we have any in the crowd, I'm sure that they would like to hear perhaps a quick round of applause in appreciation. The job they do is difficult. The job they do is thankless. And as we saw in California within recent days, the job is truly dangerous. People are being targeted simply for the uniform they wear, which is the uniform of law enforcement, the uniform of justice. And every decent police officer, I assure you, joins in the condemnation of those who are not decent, because the indecent ones make everybody look bad. And I would just like to personally thank whatever their ethnicity, race, creed, or color, all of those who have felt the calling to be law enforcement agents in the United States. And thank you for your fellow support of these brave individuals who see more human decadence, destruction, death, mayhem, and senseless violence than most of us will see in a lifetime. And sometimes that can happen on one shift. And they ought to be appreciated. We appreciate our police officers. Now, let us hear from somebody in a position to make change. Let us hear from someone in a position to support President Donald Trump. We welcome to the stage Congressman Chris Jacobs.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Tom, and thank you, everybody, for the opportunity to be here. My name is Chris Jacobs. I'm your new congressman in the 27th Congressional District. And I have the great pleasure to get to beat Nate McMurray one more time. terrible things, but I've never seen him do what he did to our friend Mike Caputo the other day. That Mike Caputo was suffering from cancer. And I just want to say, I think we all join in praying for Mike Caputo and his quick recovery. We pray for him and his family, and every good God-fearing person, irrespective of their political views, should say the same thing. It is an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here among patriots who love America. And thank you for taking the time to come here and show loud and clear the majority of our people love America and will do what they have to do to fight for America. Thank you very much. We are in times like we haven't seen in a long, long time in our country, maybe ever. We have the elites in Hollywood, our media, and others, activists that we see. I don't want to give them the credit of protesters because they're not really protesting for anything other than trying to tear down our way of life. That we have to unify and say, no, this is not acceptable. And that's why being here today is so important. I want to echo what Tom Bowerly said about supporting our men and women in blue. And I wanted to just say, I want to thank anyone who has or is wearing a uniform. We respect you, we thank you, and we honor you. Now, I have the honor of being the new member of Congress representing the 27th Congressional District, but I did serve in the state Senate with great members of the Senate like Rob Ord, who I believe will be here later, was a new minority leader in the state Senate. This rally is very important. It is time for Andrew Cuomo to go. And why it is so important now is because of how many great things this president has done, President Trump, to turn this economy around. Prior to COVID, creating the most powerful economy we've seen in 4 decades. Unfortunately, New York State has not been able to benefit from that because of all the policies of Andrew Cuomo. We need fresh leadership, in my view, Republican leadership, so we can seize the opportunities that Donald Trump has laid out for us. Like cutting our taxes, like standing up and fighting against bad trade deals and saying we will not negotiate deals if they're not good for America. Standing up and saying China is a communist nation. They are not our friends. We're going to bring back manufacturing. We're going to bring back our farming. That is good for our economy, and it is good for national security. And we need to secure our borders. I will also say this. I used to be your county clerk. It was an honor to defend the Second Amendment in the clerk's office running the Pistol Permits Division. I've done the same and fought in the state, and I will do the same to defend your right to bear arms and exercise fully the Second Amendment. I just wanted to just close with a personal story. You know, it's been a great honor in the last 10 weeks to represent you in Washington. It was a great honor to receive the endorsement of Donald Trump. Recently, I was invited to the White House, the White House lawn, but I was getting close to hear the president's acceptance speech to the Republican nomination 3 weeks ago. It was one of the most inspiring events I've ever been to. I was very excited to go. My wife was even more excited to go because my wife was born in communist Czechoslovakia. Her parents escaped when she was 4 years old, and her father always says, people just don't know how close they are to losing their freedom. That happened in my country, and that's why we came here. You need to wake up. We went to that event at the White House and heard all the speeches on the video before from the convention, the inspiring speeches from many people all over the country, personal stories of what this president did personally to them and policies that he's enacted. And then concluding with that incredible speech of President Trump. laying out all the significant things that he has done over the last 3.5 years and his vision for the future and making America what we want it to be. We left that event 11:45 in the evening out of the White House compound, and then were confronted by all the protesters that you probably saw on TV. We were fortunate enough that we walked at another gate where there was less protesters than what Senator Rand Paul and Dan Bongino, who really were in fear of losing their lives, and legitimately. But it was one of the more scary events. People yelling and screaming, threatening, saying things to my wife I'll never repeat. I saw one 21-year-old punk say to a black man criticizing him for going to the Trump event. How about that one? So anyway, as we were leaving and finally got into safety, I said to my wife, I said, what we just experienced tonight, going to President Trump's speech and then leaving and seeing the utter opposite of the hope and America we want in the protest, that is the choice. That is the stark choice that we have in this election. Which road are we going to go down in this country? So I'm going down the Trump road. I know you are all going down the Trump road. We're going down a road that will honor America, will respect the institutions that made this country the greatest country. Do we have problems? Of course we have problems. We strive always for a more perfect union, and that's what we always do. But we're going to do that loving our country, honoring our men and women in blue, honoring our military, and denouncing what we are seeing in Portland, and we've seen in Buffalo and Rochester and other places, which my opponents condone. So with that, I will leave you with one other thing. It would be a great honor to serve you for a full term, and I ask for your vote in November. But absolutely more important than that, we need Donald Trump back in office. Please get out and vote. I see people registering here. Thank you for registering and vote. Tell your neighbor to encourage them to vote. If you have any friends that are in significant swing states like Ohio and Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin, Florida, we need to get those states to win. This is going to be, I have a 2-year-old. This is going to be determined for the life that she lives and the America that she lives in. This is nothing more important than this vote in November. I thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for being here today, and let's go win in November. God bless.
I am so glad Chris Jacobs mentioned the execrable tweet by Nate McMurray. Who among us, however partisan we might be, upon hearing of a cancer diagnosis of one of our adversaries, their first thought is, I wish death for no one. We do not operate that way. And Nate McMurray, if you go back and you look at that tweet, for as caring and kind and heartfelt, and I'm in this for the little guy, I'm in this for humanity. Read Nate McMurray's tweet, and I will show you a tweet of a very low skunk individual. Nobody talks like that of someone who has just been diagnosed with cancer. Speaking of illnesses, one of the reasons you are here is because you have not seen your mother, your grandmother, maybe your spouse or your brother in how many months because of Governor Cuomo's COVID restrictions. Governor Cuomo began to weaponize COVID shortly after it became a pandemic. And folks, if you go through the time machine, you will find that Governor Cuomo praised President Trump for sending the hospital ship to New York City. He praised President Trump for converting the hospital ship into a COVID ship. He said nice things about President Trump for the work done at the Javits Center. President Trump's thanks from Andrew Cuomo, nothing but political barbs at these so-called daily news conferences, which are absolutely disgusting. to weaponize a disease is very, very low. And yet Andrew Cuomo is doing it. And may I remind you, when Western New York was on the verge of our expected peak in COVID cases, Andrew Cuomo threatened and was ready to send people from Albany to our area to take ventilators to take them to New York City. In other words, Governor Cuomo was willing to sacrifice your grandmother in Depew, your father in Cheektowaga for somebody in the Bronx or Queens. And we know where Governor Cuomo's priorities are, and we ought to keep that in mind the next time he comes wheedling for a vote here in Western New York. Many businesses have been affected by Governor Cuomo's diktats on COVID-19. And we'd like to bring up Ron Grottinelli, owner of Hagarosa Campground, and he was a special target of Governor Cuomo and his agents.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, my name is Grant, and I am an American. I was brought up to believe that there were certain unalienable rights, but apparently King Cuomo, due to some temporary powers that have been granted him, believes that he can override those rights. The Constitution was written so that no one man or king would have power over we the people. We have been subjected for the last 6 months to the daily soap opera as the world turns, according to Cuomo. Well, I'm glad somebody got that. Instead of doing those daily reports that were trite and over again, he should have been having a exercise program for at least a half hour of that, because exercise builds your immune system, and that's what we need. Most of those people that we have known that have gone through it and had the worst flu season over the winter and before it was known that it was COVID, but they got through it. And that is because their immune system was strong enough, and our immune systems are strong enough. And if you've got an underlying freaking problem, well then stay away. We don't want to quarantine the healthy, because they're the ones that are going to keep everything going for the rest of us. And Cuomo could have also hired his brother to get out there and do the exercise, that bonehead. And then, yeah, Frodo. I heard that wasn't his name, but yeah, we'll call him Frodo anyhow. All right. Fredo. Whatever, he's a dog, I don't know. So anyhow, the other thing that he should have been putting out there for us is eating properly. Not necessarily being a vegetarian, etc., but taking supplemental vitamins, a multivitamin, taking excessive freaking vitamin C, taking the zinc. Thank you. See, I don't need a prompter. I got this girl over here. All right, there's definitely a lot of things we can do, and actually, it's not over yet because the flu season's coming up. And that's what we've got to do. Starting today, do the exercise. Even if you're watching the Idiot Box and you have to get up and walk around every commercial, just go into the kitchen and back. Just make sure you pass the refrigerator. But that's what you need to do. And get those vitamins that you need that'll help beat this thing, because this definitely is a fast-spreading virus, but not necessarily a very strong one. We have what it takes. I mean, God created us and he knew everything that we would be going through from day one to the very last day. And he made these bodies so that they would take all that stuff that was going to be thrown at us as long as we paid attention. All right, now, well, due to all the things that Cuomo has done,
I gotta go upstairs. Yeah, just
Check 1, 2.
2, 1. Okay, I thought I had to put in another dime. It just, I hit the button, you know. I was waiting for the hook to come off on the side to pull me off the stage. Well, Cuomo actually has a really tough job. Do you think it's easy to come up with all those main dates, you know, day after day, according to science? Or so he says. Most of them contradict each other, to the point where I wonder if he was actually a writer for Saturday Night Live. Okay, since the end of July, hospitalizations in Erie County have been averaging right around 28. Not 28 new ones a day, but 28. Now, where does that become a pandemic? 28 people in the hospital. All right. And the numbers, those are the numbers I want to see. I don't want to see the numbers day after day of the people who have it. That doesn't mean squat, because we are freaking amplifying these tests up to 37 and 40, way beyond where that thing is going to be infectious. Normally, any disease, they look for it at 30. So we're going way and way beyond something that's never going to affect us, but that adds to their numbers, needless to say. Now, a little bit about what Cuomo did to me. But I don't look at it as he did it to me, you know, because I didn't do it for me to begin with. I did it for everybody. You know, I was just tired of the bullshit. I've been following this pretty strongly, especially the COVID, since the middle of April, and the numbers didn't jive back then. Right. Okay? But the thing is Cuomo did, first of all, the Erie County Health Department got in touch with me. And at that point, they asked me what was going on in that, and I told them, needless to say, it was a peaceful protest, because I thought protests, you could do just about whatever you want. But I guess the problem there was the fact that it was a peaceful protest. You know? Now, according to them, it wasn't eligible. I was not eligible because I had more than 50 people. Well, we all know that there's campgrounds out there that have more than 50 people at it, and they've got a lot of events going on, actually sponsored by Cuomo, music events. Some of the edicts that they've sent out to us is that you can go someplace and sit down, take your mask off, and eat. But you can't go there and drink. And of course, needless to say, then you've got some waitress that walks over to you. And of course, if any of you guys are NASCAR fans, you know about drafting. Well, maybe I'm not going to be watching that anymore, because I certainly wouldn't. But anyhow, this girl walks up to your table that's gone past several other tables, and she is drafting germs towards you. So where is the sense in that? There is no sense in any of it. And I'm sure all of you have heard this before and are on the same page.
Absolutely. Chicken wings. Chicken wings. Chicken wings.
Okay, so anyhow, what they did is they talked to me and such, and then they sent me a they sent me a cease and desist order. Cease and desist order. And since they sent the first one, I've gotten 2 more and a temporary restraining order. Well, I looked at them as more or less guidelines, because basically, what they were guidelines as far as I'm concerned, because I don't remember signing over a proxy for my health or my rights as an American to Cuomo. Any of you do that?
Fuck Cuomo.
So apparently we poked the bear pretty heavy. Now he did is he sent 12 state troopers down to the end of my road. Basically, they were there to warn people of this, that, and the other thing that COVID might get them, etc. But all of them were sitting in cars and had masks on, so I guess they shouldn't have been talking to them. So besides the troopers that they had sent, they also had sent cease and desist orders to the bands that were playing at the event. And in that cease and desist order for those bands, they specifically said to them that if they did not comply, that they would confiscate their equipment and possibly go to jail. He also sent an order to the golf cart company that supplied us with golf carts at the campgrounds, and he ordered them to pick them up. And once again, he said under suffrage of penalty and possibly jail time. They're letting criminals out of jail. Now here they got people in jail, and apparently the masks and the distancing, they can't work it there. Now where do you have more control of people than in the jail? So apparently they feel that the masks and the distancing does not work. So anyhow, I wish that Cuomo would take this aggressive approach towards some of the somewhat peaceful protests that went on down in New York City. This was not about me. It was about every essential and non-essential person in New York State. Only a king can determine who is non-essential. than off of their heads. I've gone on a little bit too long here, and I'm sure that my lawyer who's in the back here is kind of tugging on my bits here to shut up, but that ain't easy. I want to thank the 1791 Society for putting on this event and for allowing me to speak. And I want to thank all of you for coming, the silent majority, because we're not going to be silent anymore. And of course, I want to send out a thanks to Maria Gennaro for giving us such nice weather, because I'm sure it was her fault. Okay, that's not all I have to say about that, but it's all for right now. Vaya con Dios.
Thank you, Ron. You know, many of you have loved ones in nursing homes, and as Ron alluded to at this point, in prisons in New York State, inmates, violent felon inmates, have more access to their families than you do to your mom or your dad or your spouse or your brother. And here to address that, Amy McKnight, who has 31 years in nursing care, and she is going to talk about the dramatic effect of banishing family from nursing home patients that is manifesting in nursing homes all over Western New York.
Thank you. I am here today to be the voice of the patients and to tell you what Governor Cuomo is doing to our patients. I am outraged at the suffering and death of thousands across New York State. This is your parents, your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles. They're not just numbers on a curve that the governor says he succeeded in flattening. I am outraged that at the beginning of the pandemic, Governor Cuomo stated, and I quote, "I assume responsibility." Really? Because we're still waiting. Instead, he blames us, the nursing homes, who were forced to accept COVID-positive patients by him and his health commissioner. I witness every day the hard work and dedication of nursing home workers. Sometimes we work 12 to 16-hour days. We experience getting COVID tested once a week while the governor appears on his brother's show on CNN with a giant swab and pokes fun at that. We witness patients with COPD